Alrighty, Chef Buck here, and today we're gonna cook up cauliflower crust pizza. You know, I've been getting a lot of messages, about how svelte I've been looking. Really cut down on our bread consumption, which means we haven't been eating as much pizza as we like to eat. So for the last week, I've been experimenting with some cauliflower crust pizzas. I tried several different variations of the cauliflower pizza crust, and this is the one that works best for me. What I didn't want to do was cook the cauliflower, boil it up, and then put it in a towel and squeeze it out. A lot of recipes call for that, but that just sounds like a mess. I'm too lazy for that, not interested in doing that. And I tried not cooking the cauliflower at all, and that left it really wet, which was fine. That ended up being a damn stromboli, so that worked out. But what I found was cooking the cauliflower in a skillet, and cooking off a lot of the moisture really worked best. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grate up some cauliflower. Now you can use a food processor, but just using a grater and grating the cauliflower florets works fine. The big part, the little stem type stem, I just throw it in here, boom, and I save it to make soup with. I'm just going to grate some cauliflower florets until I have 2 cups of cauliflower. And grating your cauliflower florets like this is actually a lot of fun. In fact, it's great.
Oh no.
So once you get your cauliflower grated, this is what it's going to look like. And I'm just using the big side of the grater here. But like I said, I'm just doing the floret, so it falls apart into these very dinky-doo, super duper tiny confetti pieces. And I'm gonna measure out 2 cups. All right, so I got about 2 cups. And I'm just gonna go ahead and cook it on the stovetop in a pan, just for a little while on kind of a medium temperature, just to cook some of the moisture out. Now I've seen people do this in a microwave, they heat it up in a microwave. I don't have a microwave. People go ahead and grate it like this, and then they boil it and then strain it with a dish towel. But that looks like a super duper pain in the tuchus, and I'm lazy, so I ain't doing that. I found this to be the easiest way. Just cooking it up in a skillet a little bit and cooking off some of that moisture, because there's a lot of water content in cauliflower. But I don't have it on a super hot temperature. I've just got it on medium heat.
Smells like cauliflower in here.
Yep. And isn't that an awesome smell? Oh my God. When I was a kid, I loved the smell of cauliflower, because it was like an old tennis shoe. We're just stirring it around and drying it out. We're not going to cook it till it's brown. We're not trying to put any color on here. We're not trying to saute and overcook this cauliflower. We're just doing it enough to dry it out. Just leave it like this here, boom. And give it an occasional stir so that that steam can be released and it'll dry out. So you can't even really hear it sizzling right now. That's because a lot of the moisture is already evaporated. I think it's dry enough right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and set it aside. Boom, get it off this burner. Let it cool down a little bit. It's just going to take a couple of minutes for that cauliflower to cool down, so we're going to go ahead and throw our stuff in a bowl right here. So boom, 1 egg. And I used 2 eggs. On one recipe I used 2 eggs, but I thought it was too eggy. And I love eggs, but it just didn't work for a pizza crust. Not for this cauliflower pizza crust. I preferred the 1 egg, and it worked just as well holding it together. So we're going to beat our egg up. And I've got, boom, 1 cup of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. Use an Asiago or a Romano or a Parmesan, a nice hard cheese. Don't use a mozzarella in the crust. Some recipes call for goat cheese. I didn't use goat cheese. I like the hard cheese, because that's gonna, for one thing, it's gonna hold the cauliflower together along with the egg. But since it's a hard cheese, when it cools down a little bit, it's going to be a firmer crust. So I think using a hard cheese is a better choice. Plus, it's a lot of flavor. I'm not going to add any salt in here at all, because the Parmesan has a lot of salt in it already. I think our cauliflower's already cooled down enough. Like I said, it doesn't take very long. because, you know, it's just a little bit of vegetables. So we got 1 cup of grated Parmesan cheese and 2 cups of the grated cauliflower that we've dried out in our skillet. You know, and it's not 1000% dry, but you know, it's a lot drier than if we just grate it up in here straight. Get that egg and cheese and cauliflower all mixed together. And I really don't think you need to throw any seasonings in here. You can if you want. You know, you can season the crust a little bit, you know, with some garlic powder or whatnot. You know, I did that on some versions, but I don't think it really did anything because I'm going to put so much flavor on the top of the pizza, you know, and it's all going in your mouth at the same time. So it's a little bit redundant. So I got my big old pizza pan. I didn't want to use parchment paper, but I found that it worked a lot better using the parchment paper. So we're going to take our cauliflower and cheese and egg mixture and go ahead and put this out on our parchment paper. So this is just a big old lump, and now we're just going to smooth it out into a pizza crust. Now, you know, it's not going to be pretty, and you can do whatever shape you want. I don't want it to be too thick because I want it to bake and harden up and get a little bit of structural integrity. And I don't want to cook it forever and ever. And I don't want the edges to burn, you know, before the inside is cooked. So really, just about this thickness right here, it's about 1/4 inch right now. You know, one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to have it smashed out so that the edges are ultra thin compared to the rest of the pizza. Because if the outer edges are super duper thin, they'll cook a lot quicker, and then it'll almost look burnt. So have it built up a little bit around the edges, and then that way they won't darken too fast. Look how beautiful that is. Nice structural integrity potential. So we're gonna go ahead and throw it in the oven, 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and let that cook for a little bit. Let it get some solidification going on there, a little bit of structural integrity. You know, let it find itself, find its place in the world, become comfortable in its own cauliflower pizza crust skin, and then, boom, we'll slop some toppings on. Slop some toppings on. That's my new catchphrase. We're gonna slop some toppings on. Alrighty, it's been almost 20 minutes. You know, we're right around 19 minutes right now. But I checked it, and I think it's ready to pull out. You can hear it bubbling and making some noise. It's kind of nice and brown around the edges. Too hot to handle, so we're going to go ahead and leave it sit here for a few minutes and let it cool down just slightly before we put the toppings on there. But that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a nice little bit of color on there and for it to firm up. But look at that, it looks really solid. You know, I mean, it doesn't look like little pieces of cauliflower stuck together. It looks like one piece. You know, because that cheese and the cauliflower and the egg, they have all melded together and become one unified, solidified potential pizza. Mmm, smells awesome, even though it's cauliflower because we got the Parmesan on there. And it's cooled down enough. And because it's on parchment paper, I can pick it up. You know, I had one that I did without parchment paper. Look at that, boom, still steaming, but it has nice structural integrity. Now the one I did before, without parchment paper, you know, I couldn't pick it up and it was too stuck, and by the time I unstuck it, you know, it wouldn't cooperate. So basically I just made a pizza on top of that, and then I just rolled it up, boom, and made a stromboli out of it. So I went ahead and put my toppings on there, and then I rolled it up into a tube type tube, and then I cooked it like that, and then just sliced it. You know, so that's a great option if your crust doesn't have a lot of integrity, like this one does. But you see, it's not overly done on the bottom, it's not overly done on the top, because we didn't have the edges too thin. It didn't get too dark. I made one where I had the edges around it too thin, and it darkened up too much, and it still tasted great, but it just didn't look as good. This looks more like a regular pizza. Now the thing is, it's not huge. I mean, this is a good sized pie, but it's not crazy big. I don't think you want to make it too ginormous. And plus, if you're making a cauliflower crust pizza, you probably don't need a big pizza anyway. Now we're gonna dress it up. You know, like I said, we make our own pizza sauce. And I'm gonna go ahead and spread it out to the very edges, you know, because I don't want it to look unattractive. I don't want the outer edges to get too dark while it's cooking. So I'm gonna fill up as much as I can with the topping. But look at those nice chunks of garlic I have on there. And there's Italian seasonings already on here. I'm gonna go ahead and tear up a little bit of fresh basil. I'm gonna put on some fresh spinach. I have a lot of confidence in this crust, so I'm just gonna pile the toppings on here. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of cheese over top just to get it started. Now I used Parmesan cheese, freshly shredded Parmesan in the crust, and I'm topping it with a mozzarella. Mushroom, tomatoes. Now I'm gonna top it with a little bit more mozzarella. So boom, we're gonna slide it back in the oven. Still got it at 400 degrees. Boom, we'll let it go for about 15 more minutes. We're gonna keep an eye on it and see what happens. It's been 10 minutes. Boom, so it didn't take that long at all. That cheese is nice and melted up, but you see how the edges are starting to darken up quite a little bit. So you don't want it to go too far and get super duper dark so it's unattractive. So it didn't take long at all. That's why I like to have the crust built up a little bit on the outside and have the toppings all the way out, because the more of the cauliflower crust you have exposed, the darker it gets and the less attractive. But this looks perfecto right here. I'm gonna go ahead and put it onto a rack. It's a little bit too hot for me to pick up. So carefully, I'm gonna do this dealio right here. So that way it will cool off and some of the, you know, so it doesn't steam on the bottom and be too wet. Alrighty, so I got it back on the pan. I'm gonna go ahead and slice it up. It doesn't firm up super well. See how it bends? See, we cooked it and we made it super duper thin because it's gonna be heavy. You know, because it doesn't have flour in it. It doesn't have any baking soda or baking powder or yeast or anything. So it's not gonna rise. It's cheese and vegetables. You know, it sticks together. Looks like pizza, and I gotta tell you, it really tastes like pizza. But it's not light and airy and fluffy. It's dense. But it tastes like pizza because it's got pizza sauce on it. It's got pizza toppings on it. It's cheese. Everything about it is pizza, except for its cauliflower. You know, but that's not an overpowering flavor. That's not a super duper strong flavor. And we've got enough things in here, you know, to mask it.
This is good.
Yeah, it's super duper good. You know, you can make a cauliflower crust pizza and put nice toppings on there, good flavor, nice sauce, and it's gonna be delicioso. I've tried a lot of different recipes, and this is the one that I think tastes the most like a pizza, that has the intestinal fortitude and integrity of a pizza. So you give this recipe a try and let me know what you think. And if you want to print the recipe, you know, go down to myfoodchannel.com. I'll have a link to the recipe that you can print out. You know, check out the other recipes. Check out my playlist. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. You know, hit the subscribe button. Be a good citizen of the internet. Thanks for being a good person. Do you meditate? Maybe you should take a meditation. Camera Girl started meditating a couple of months ago, and she's so much easier to live with now.
I think your blood sugar's
that
getting
might
low.
work for you, huh?
Your blood sugar's getting low.
Well, I got another piece of pizza for my blood sugar, so I'm gonna be fine.